This is CBC Lunch Hour News. We take a look at the headlines. Withdrawal of the Cybersecurity and the Cyber Crimes Bill from Parliament for further consultations. Human Rights Commission recommends that former Commissioner of Police Nelson Piri be jointly charged with the case of murder with the officer who shot Nzama in Joseph Kaunda. Another opposition alliance, to be known as Kwacha Alliance, formed. And in CBC Sports, the Absa Bank PLC has allocated 3.8 million kwacha to the 2021 Absa Cup tournament rather. With the details, I'm Lwando Billy Cheleka. The Golden Party President Jackson Silabwe has urged government to withdraw the Cybersecurity and Cyber Crimes Bill from Parliament. He says government must first consult the Zambian people and stakeholders, generate consensus and come up with a progressive bill.
Having been victims of cyber crimes ourselves, we submit that the Cyber Security and Cyber Crimes Bill 2021 needs a thorough cleaning before enacting it into law. We cannot make laws to fix each other even if we are bruised. There's no denying that cyber crimes are on the rise in our country. Zambia's cyberspace is becoming a vehicle to peddle insults, slander, hate speech, misinformation, and this must be stopped immediately. As governments and businesses world over migrate their services online, so has the rate of cyber attacks increased, paralyzing essential services. Zambia is no exception. We need an effective cyber infrastructure to fend off these attacks in real time. The bill infringes on fundamental human rights enshrined in the Republican Constitution. In its quest to bring sanity in the cyberspace, government must avoid the Big Brother syndrome, characteristic of undemocratic regimes. It is true that politicians from the ruling party have been victims of cyber crimes. As a country, we must not succumb to make laws to fix each other. The law must be just. There is need to harmonize the Cybersecurity and Cyber Crimes Bill with other pieces of legislation to avoid duplication of laws.
The Movement for Democratic Change MDC has charged that the unwarranted behavior of some purported Patriotic Front cadres flashing huge sums of money is tantamount to defiling the economy. MDC Vice President for Administration Ms. Sherry Tolle said the trend is of grave concern even when the PF attempted to disown the individuals who were non-party cadres. Ms. Tolle, who is a former Bank of Zambia director, said the trend of ordinary cadres flashing and sleeping on top of cash is making people lose confidence in the country's currency. She said due to loss of confidence in the currency, it is contributing towards the continued depreciation of the kwacha against foreign currencies. She said this trend also goes to show that only the selected few within the Patriotic Front inner circles are enjoying the lavish lifestyles, while ordinary Zambians, who are the voters, remain in abject poverty.
I know that there's been a disclaimer issued that they are not PF cadres, but for all intents and purposes, you can see they are PF cadres, and I think they are known to the authorities. Why is it that the authorities are not questioning them and then putting it in the public domain on what is the source of the funds that these people are literally stepping on like a carpet, like a mattress? I think that they are defiling our currency, and I think it's making people lose confidence in our currency. That could also explain our careless handling of the kwacha, why it's even going up, against most of the currencies, because you find that people lose confidence. A currency has confidence issues, but now what we see is that the select few are the ones who are enjoying, and literally waving the billions of kwacha in our faces almost on a daily basis and showing off, whilst the majority are on the point of starvation. I think it's important that the DEC and the FIC, the Financial Intelligence Center, the Drug Enforcement Commission, must institute investigations to check on who is providing these monies. There's been several statements issued that maybe it's the Bank of Zambia printing money, but all those things must be investigated and put in the public domain so that we understand what is going on.
Now the Anglican priest has committed himself to work for the people as a Republican president as he wanted to be. Bishop Trevor Mwamba, aspiring to contesting on the United Nations Independence Party, UNIP, says regimes come and go, but most of the leaders forget the pledges they make during the campaigns. Bishop Trevor Mwamba was speaking in Lusaka at Pamozi Hotel on Thursday. Emmanuel Mlakwashapi has the details in this report.
United Nations Independence Party, UNIP, has been in existence for 61 years. The records say the first Zambia's Supreme President, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, was the party prime minister at the age of 39 and became president of the Republic of Zambia at 40. The introduction of the multipartism saw UNIP regime its end when the party and its leadership lost power politically to the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD. UNIP under TDNG Kaunda, since the retirement of its first party president, Dr. Kaunda, is perceived to be so reluctant and always active during the general elections. For this reason, a man of God, Bishop Trevor Mwamba, has come out in open to contest as UNIP president.
It is a same calling, but I have to perform a role in which God says, my son, for so many years you have done this, now bring all that, now be the servant here. This is what's happening. And what I have learned is that for me to be where I am, God had first to empty me of all that rule of power, that sense and desire for power and greed and all. It's not there. Because the true measure of power is actually service, is to be a servant leader. So my sacred journey, the calling of my life upon me now, is that with all humility, with all boldness, with all love, and all compassion, and humor, and mercy, and truth, I should try, with God being my helper, to inspire His people, to inspire them to first know of His presence in their lives, to inspire them to know of the gifts that God has given them, that they should use these gifts for the good of God's people and His country. So this is what my candidacy is about.
Bishop Mwamba was escorted by the prominent priest Bishop Teresfo Mpundu, giving a vote of thanks, noted that all have rights to express themselves, but some people align them to certain political parties.
Bishop Mwamba here is a Zambian, he is a free citizen. He is free to associate, he is free to express his political opinion. One of those very sad things, we Zambians, we do not allow people to touch on political issues. If you touch on a political issue, you must belong to a political party. No, I don't need to belong to a political party. I don't even need to belong to Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops in order to express my political opinion. We are free. We are free. And this must be taken to our political leaders. Freedom of expression, freedom of association.
Emmanuel Mlakwashapi, Cbc News.
In our plan, International Zambia has called on members of the public to continue observing the COVID-19 preventive measures. the Plan International Zambia Country Director, Ramin Shazami, explains that observing the preventive measures is key in the fight against the virus. He has warned that COVID-19 is deadly and affects everyone regardless of tribe, race or gender, adding that the virus has had a major impact on vulnerable families, children, women and girls.
The main thing is really limiting the exposure that one has to this deadly virus, and it's very important because precisely it is a deadly virus. It is a virus that affects everybody, regardless of their economic status, or regardless of their gender, or regardless of their ethnicity. So we work with for children's rights and equality for girls. And what we are seeing in the communities where we're working, and also in discussions with other actors in this field, is that girls, as unfortunately as usual, are the ones that are most vulnerable under such circumstances. So girls have had to stay at home, but they're the ones who bear the brunt of the chores that have to be done at home. And when it comes to also families that are economically very vulnerable, we have had cases that the families are having their girls married off at a very, very young age because of the economic situation that they find themselves in. So there are multiple implications of this COVID-19, and as a society and as an international society, we have to see how to overcome these so that the girls and the young women have equal rights, equal opportunities, and are able to benefit from the services that exist out there. And I really want to encourage, especially the young, the children and the youth, to continue to dream, continue to strive for your dreams. You can achieve what you want, and you will by being perseverant and working hard towards it.
Now, the Action Governance Forum on Thursday launched a campaign to strengthen women's rights in the province. The organization's executive director, Mr. Justin Mushoke, who organized the campaign, says 3 districts participated in the program at the community hall in Mongo district to sensitize and engage key stakeholders to support women's participation in this year's general elections. Mr. Mushoke said the participation of women in governance is worrying. Mr. Mushoke is calling all political parties to adopt more women in this year's election. Mr. Mushoke further said that there is need to identify potential candidates. Our staffer, Musiebo Kavila, has the details in this report.
A call to have more women participate in leadership has gone high as Action Governance Forum today held a meeting to sensitize and engage key stakeholders to support women. And the Action Governance Forum Executive Director, Mr. Justin Mushoke, had this to say.
The title of the project is called Strengthening Women's Rights and Political Participation. We realize that it's very important that we come up with programs specifically focusing on women, and the reason we have to do a lot. So basically, that's the thing which necessitated us to come up with this proposal to ensure that we do something when it comes to women representation. It is something that we have been talking about, and also it is something that is concerned all the stakeholders who have been talking about this, that we have got quite a very low level in terms of representation from the women representatives. That is 2016, then 17% at parliament level or at constituency level. That is 2016. But remember that we had by-elections. So this number has gone down. For example, I can cite one of them like Katuba, where we had a lady, the madam passed away, and the one who took over is a man. I think those who are coming from Wamba, Kaoma, Nkehema, including Mongo, we have to start identifying those and see how best we can do the work with them. For those of you who are coming from Kenga, Wamba and Kaoma, you know our business.
Rights Commissioner, Provincial Investigation Officer, Mr. Chunga Stari, took time explaining the core function of the Commission, such as the Bill of Rights.
The Human Rights Commission is a national human rights institution which is established under Article 130 of the Constitution of Zambia, as amended in 2016. One of the core mandate of the Commission, as outlined in the Constitution, is to uphold and promote the Bill of Rights. By doing those functions, like we do research in areas of human rights, to see to it how we can come. Through those research, we can also lobby for the amendment of certain laws, and we can also bring to the government the kind of hardship people can go through, depending.
Ms. Morinyambe and Tolosi Mafo said there are some challenges affecting women which are hindering them to participate in leadership.
Nibule chwana kuli maneze matata emfumana mu community kitala inge limozeza kwa mulango chwana batule basali bikona kuli mane kona citizen bukota na kutoshwenga na kuruka kuli
malufumana butata hulu na basali kuyema mali tuwezeswa na ingezeo kava kalama qualifications mukafumana kuli ma qualifications muso for wisiza kuli konji grade 12 yana ni grade 12 certificate bungata abasali babamu habana ma grade 12 certificate kaba kalali mama palelwi akuzwela pili kwali kolo bakenza ko kumashemi habana sebanani cyo makuli bazuseze pili mwana naye kukena skolo wapala che kaba kale.
Musiebo Kabia reporting for CBC News in Mungu District, Western Province.
Now, three opposition political parties have formed an alliance called Kwacha to back the New Heritage Party under the leadership of Chishala Kateka. The political parties are Zambia Direct Democracy Movement, ZDDM, Zambia Democratic Congress, ZADECO, Common Cause Democracy CCD, and a non-political party ex-Zamsa Liberation Veterans. Malangi Nzombola has the details in this report.
Three opposition political parties have formed an alliance called Kwacha to back the New Heritage Party under the leadership of Chishala Kateka. The three political parties include the Zambia Direct Democracy Movement, ZDDM, led by Edwin Sakala, Zambia Democratic Congress, ZADEC, and a non-political party, ex-Zamsa Liberation Veterans. Announcing the formation of the alliance at the media briefing on Thursday in Lusaka, Alliance chairperson Edwin Sakala discussed that there is too much poverty in the country, despite having all resources, and the alliance wants to bring back Zambia's heritage amid this injustice.
Today marks yet another important milestone in the political history of our beloved country, Zambia. This day will go down the annals of our history as the day a cross-section of our population decided to join hands and fight for a better Zambia, fight for a better future for our children and grandchildren, and ultimately to fight for control of our national heritage.
A New Heritage Party president, Chishala Kateka, says the endorsement by the Kwacha Alliance will help her party remove the ruling Patriotic Front PF from government because they have failed to govern the nation, as evidenced by the escalating cost of living.
Party, we take this responsibility seriously, as I have mentioned, and have therefore are continuously preparing well, not just for the election, but for the time beyond that. The sum of Zambia's potential via diversification.
Now, the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy National spokesperson Dr. Kefas Mukuka says there's nothing sinister for one party to enter into an alliance with another party. Dr. Mukuka notes that the approach has happened before and continues to happen in the political arena. He was speaking to CBC News. And now moving on to news. The United Party for National Development (UPND) President Hakainde Hichilema has made changes to the party's National Management Committee. Mr. Stephen Katuka, who was the party's Secretary General, has been appointed as party national chairperson, while Patrick Mcheleka, Getro Dimenda and Gary Nkombo have maintained their positions. Meanwhile, Mr. Hichilema says the Konkola Copper Mines has incurred more debts this time around when it is under liquidation. Malangi Nzombola now reports.
The preparations has continued for the United Party for National Development (UPND) ahead of the general elections slated for 12th August 2021. On Thursday, UPND President Hakainde Hichilema announced some changes in the National Management Committee. Mr. Hichilema has urged all the senior officials to work hard and deliver good results to the nation in order for the party to win the forthcoming general election.
In place. Let us go to the polling stations. The campaign is on, but have to go to the grassroots. Yes. To campaign. Yes. So, let us work. The Vice President has already said it. Let us get to work. We shall win. The goodwill is there. The PF has destroyed this country. But we have to remind the voters. The provisional voters register is out. Do not be too worried. I know there was games being played to suppress voter registration in certain areas. Were suppressed. Issuance of voters cards were suppressed by the PF shenanigans. Do not worry, because they assume that the UPND strongholds is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 provinces. They are wrong. The UPND strongholds is all the provinces of Zambia.
Speaking at the same event, UPND Vice President Mtalena Lumango has urged the Zambian people to vote wisely.
Mr. President, these people have completely failed, and we will continue to tell the Zambian people that things will be better. If we vote properly on the 12th of August, things will be better. And his team, you will know that things will be better. The President has spoken and has spoken. Our manifesto that will clearly be made known to the Zambians is very clear as to what we intend to do. For the youth, it's jobs and jobs, both formal and informal.
Meanwhile, Mr. Hichilema has expressed concern over the happenings at the Konkola Copper Mines.
Acceptable. And this date now, given that they are trying to take over KCM fully, it means it becomes your debt as Zambian citizens. When you are already burdened with debt, billions of dollars, now they are accruing more debt and making your life more difficult and making what you are worth less than what it was when before PF put KCM in liquidation. This is irresponsible. We must fight that.
Mangi Nzombola, CBC News.
Well, this is CBC Lunch Hour News. For now, we'll take a break. Coming up after the break, the Human Rights Commission has recommended that former Commissioner of Police Nelson Piri be jointly charged with the case of murder with the officer who shot Nzama Nsama and Joseph Kaunda. Do join us with this plus many other stories coming up after the break.
You get Showmax, you get instant access to full seasons of award-winning series and blockbuster movies.
It's amazing.
You you get shows you won't find anywhere else, like Showmax Originals.
Thank you so much.
You get awesome kids shows.
Freaking awesome.
Amazing documentaries.
You literally cannot make this up.
And now you also get live world-class sport from Supersport.
Everything's out of control.
All ready and waiting for you to watch online on your smartphone, tablet, desktop, or smart TV, wherever and whenever you like.
Whoa.
So what are you waiting for? Go to showmax.com to sign up. From football seasons to binge-worthy seasons, you'll get it all on Showmax. One platform, endless entertainment.
Everything seems to get a little more expensive this time of year, but keeping your family entertained doesn't have to. Now you can get a GoTV decoder with 1 month of GoTV Plus for the new low price of 249 kwacha. That's 24/7 access to your favorite local stars, the biggest names in the game, international movies, and plenty to keep the kids busy. It's a deal you can't afford to miss, so don't delay. Get this limited offer today. GoTV, love it.
Donated a brand new delivery bed to Sikanze Hospital Maternity Ward as part of the annual Police Open Day celebrations, which falls on the 4th of March every year. The commemoration, held under the theme of strengthening stakeholder collaboration of a crime-free Zambia, saw various activities being held across the country, and in Lusaka, Sikanze Hospital was the hub of activity. Blessed Chihuahua has the details in this report.
Each year on 4th March, Zambia join hands in commemorating Police Day to recognize and appreciate the contributions that the police service continues to render in the country. This year's commemorations were celebrated under the theme, Strengthening Stakeholder Collaboration for a Crime-Free Zambia. Prudential Life Assurance Zambia has donated a delivery bed to Sikanze Hospital Maternity Ward as part of Police Day celebrations. Speaking during the commemoration, the Commissioner of Police for Administration, Lombeka Mkoshi, thanked Prudential Life Assurance Zambia for a timely donation which will help improve quality services not only to police but to the surrounding community.
Prudential Life Assurance, I'm Secure, and Wash Zambia have joined us in celebrating this day by way of donating the delivery bed, sanitizers, disinfectants, and various cleaning materials to our Sikanze Police Hospital. It is therefore gratifying when partners such as yourselves come to supplement government efforts.
Speaking at the same event, the hospital chief nursing officer Juliet Mwale also thanked Prudential Life Assurance Zambia for the donation, which will go a long way in providing comfort to expectant mothers.
Delivery beds that we are currently using are damaged, and they have been adding more discomfort to the already laboring mothers that we've been seeing. We are highly elated this morning that we'll be receiving a new bed that will add to quality of care that we offer to mothers that come to deliver at Sikanze Hospital.
And the Deputy Manager for Prudential Life Assurance Zambia, Kasuba Skamo, explains that the theme represents an opportunity for Prudential to make a change right at the onset of time.
Prudential has been in existence for over 170 years, and for decades we have placed value on long-term sustainable relationships. A key aspect of what we do is leverage those relationships to not only build a lasting business, but also to enrich our communities. People are the core of what we do, and in the spirit of one of our values, which is empathy, we recognize the needs of others and provide solutions to those needs.
And Wash Zambia representative, who was also present at the event, explains that the organization will continue to fight COVID-19 in the country.
Zambia has recognized the urgent need to strengthen joint efforts by various stakeholders to curb the COVID-19 pandemic as seen in our Wash COVID Away campaign. In the same regard, we would like to commend the police force for acknowledging the importance of such collaborations. Ladies and gentlemen, with reference to the theme of this event, crime is a factor that has an effect on all members of our great nation, and as such, it is of utmost importance that each and every one of us play a role in curbing it.
Blessed Now Chwawa, Cbc News.
Now, the Human Rights Commission has recommended that former Commissioner of Police Nelson Piri be jointly charged with a case of murder with the officer who shot Nsaman and Joseph Kaunda. This is in accordance with the findings and recommendations of the Human Rights Commission's investigations into the killing of Mr. Nsaman Chipioka and Mr. Joseph Kaunda, delivered to the media by the Human Rights Commission chairperson, Mr. Matford Mwandenga, at their head office in Lusaka on Thursday.
The Commission found that the orders given by this command were directly linked to the indiscriminate use of live ammunition, the discharge of tear smoke, and the display of warfare tactics, and the excessive use of force by the police that was witnessed on the day of the shooting incident. Witnesses, that is number 2, witnesses informed the Commission that the former Lusaka Province Commissioner of Police, Mr. Nelson Piri, gave orders to police officers to fire at the people that had gathered. On the orders of the former Lusaka Province Commissioner of Police, police officers started firing gunshots and tear gas canisters indiscriminately. 3, the officers on the armored police vehicle were the first to fire live gunshots before a sporadic gunfire ensued, leading to the shooting incident in which the 2 deceased men were caught up in the crossfire and killed in the process. The Commission wishes to stress that, in line with the principle number 26 of the basic principles on the use of force and firearms, obedience to superior orders shall be no defense if the law enforcement officer or officers knew that an order to use force and firearms resulting in the death or serious injury of the person was manifestly unlawful and had the reasonable opportunity to refuse to follow it.
And now the Supreme Court is baffled with the explanation by the Zambia Correction Service that it does not know the whereabouts of 12 inmates, wondering how they would go missing under the nose of the police service. This follows the report dated on February 28, 2021, which was issued to the Supreme Court by the Lusaka Central Correctional Facility, Chimbo Kaila, officer in charge, Senior Superintendent Kenan Masase, which indicated the missing of the inmates. Meanwhile, Chief Justice Irene Mambilima complained that in January this year, most cases collapsed because prisoners were not taken to court as no one knew their whereabouts. The Chief Justice summoned the Commissioner General of Correctional Service by Dr. Chileshe Chisela to explain the whereabouts of the convicts. However, Dr. Chisela explained that the inmates who were reported missing had served the sentences and were discharged. He also apologized for causing inconvenience by providing inadequate information regarding the missing appellants. And now in a CBC Sports News, Absa Bank PLC has allocated 3.8 million kwacha for the 2021 Absa Cup tournament. The 2021 Absa Cup tournament has been launched after last year's edition was called off due to COVID-19 pandemic. The defending champions Zesco United have been drawn against Division 1 outfit Kansanshi Dynamos. Zanaco Football Club will take on Kabwe Warriors, while Forest Rangers will tackle Konkola Blades, and Lusaka Dynamos have been paired against Prison Leopards. Speaking during the launch on Thursday in Lusaka, the minister in charge of youth, sport and child development, Emmanuel Mulenga, says government will continue supporting such initiatives which contribute positively towards the growth of sports in the country. Football Association of Zambia FAS President Andrew Kamanga says this year's competition is expected to be rough because the tournament did not take place last season. Meanwhile, Absa Bank Managing Director Mizinga Milu, who was represented by Absa Bank Head of Marketing and Corporate Affairs Mato Shimavala, says the winning team will walk away with 600,000 kwacha.
Participants to strive for excellency and distinguish themselves in the true spirit of Africanicity being displayed on the pitch. Further, the Absa Cup gives players a different experience from league matches, as the cup competition requires a high level of concentration. As such, there is no room for error as matches are played on a knockout basis. This experience is important as this characterizes what teams experience when they compete for continental and global competition.
Also emulate Absa for being an all-weather partner to football. There are many opportunities within the game that other corporate bodies can take advantage of. Our game is evolving, and we expect that would-be partners would take advantage of some of the opportunities such as insurance, transport, hospitality, and information technology.
Each of the teams, for every game that they'll play in the tournament, will get a grant of 20,000 kwacha each. And that is just a way to help them meet the costs of incurred in preparing for the tournament. So for the teams that make it all the way, that's 20,000 kwacha, and each team is expected to play 3 games, the quarterfinals, semifinals, and to the finals. That's just 60,000 just to meet the costs. But of course, if you win the tournament, you get the 600,000 kwacha.
Well, the best of luck to whichever team will emerge victorious in the Absa tournament. For now, we'll take a break. We'll be right back with foreign news. Stay with us.
When the time draws near for you to renew your DSTV subscription, you can now do so conveniently online wherever you are with My DSTV app. Just log into your account. Click the Pay Now button on your home screen. You will then see information on your current package, account details, total amount due, and total amount to pay. Select the Ting radio button and then click the Pay Now button. Now you just choose your preferred payment method and confirm your payment. And just like that, your favorite entertainment flows on undisturbed. You can pay by Visa card, mobile banking, Airtel Money, MTN Mobile Money, or Zamtel Makwacha. You can even pay by internet banking or USSD. However you manage your money, there's a convenient option for you. My DSTV, for your DSTV self-service on the go.
And it is not lost on me that at this moment,
there are some little girls watching.
What do we want? Justice.
The USA won. It's not what he's running.
No matter where you're from, your dreams are valid. For there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
There is a core belief at the heart of Liquid Telecom. The belief that every individual has the right to be connected. The pursuit of this vision has seen us build the largest independent fiber network in Africa. From Cape to Cairo, we are connecting more of Africa. Liquid Telecom, building Africa's digital future.
Welcome back. And now we continue with our news. In foreign news, Pope Francis is going to Iraq for a 3-day visit. His first trip outside Italy since the pandemic began. The Pope will be welcomed by the Prime Minister when he arrives in Baghdad on Friday. He will then meet President Bashar al-Assad as well as religious leaders and representatives of civil society at the presidential palace. The next day, Francis will fly to the city of Najaf and meet Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani later. He will celebrate Mass in Baghdad on Sunday. Pope Francis will travel to Erbil, the capital of Iraq, Kurdistan, where he will meet with religious and civil leaders of the autonomous region. Al Jazeera's Osama bin Javadi reports from the capital on security preparations ahead of his visit.
Baghdad is on high alert for the first ever visit to Iraq by the leader of the Roman Catholic Church. Iraq still faces security threats and attacks from ISIL and militia groups, which means the Iraqi security forces have their work cut out for them, as Pope Francis will be in 6 cities in 3 days.
All requirements have been secured through a plan drawn up by the Joint Operations Command to secure logistical and security matters for all the places that the Pope will visit, whether they are in Baghdad, Najaf, Nineveh, Erbil, all places.
Pope Francis has frequently travelled to Muslim-majority countries, and in Iraq he will meet one of the world's most influential Shia clerics, Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani.
The Pope's visit is meant to expand on his message of interfaith dialogue and bring hope to Iraq's Christian community. But it also comes during a pandemic to a country which has not started vaccinating its people and is imposing partial lockdowns to try and stop the spread of COVID-19.
The Vatican's ambassador to Iraq, who would have escorted the Pope to all his appointments, has already tested positive. Pope Francis and his entourage have been vaccinated, and organizers say they will strictly enforce crowd limits at public events. But with the sharp rise in Iraq's COVID-19 cases and a weak healthcare system, critics have questioned the effectiveness of social distancing, as it's expected crowds will gather to see the Pope.
Some people close to the Pope believe that the visit should be postponed due to the pandemic and security situation. But the Pope insisted on his visit. Iraq needs his visit and he feels the pain of the people who are suffering.
Iraqi authorities say all necessary steps to ensure the safety and security of all involved are being taken.
The civil defense plan has 2 components. First part is protection. Firefighters and rescuers will be in all places to be visited by His Holiness. And the second part is sterilization of all places without exception. It will be in coordination with those in charge of churches and holy sites that will be included in the visit of His Holiness.
Iraqi Christians can trace their lineage to the earliest days of the religion. They are a diverse group with Syriac, Assyrian, Chaldean, Armenian and Melkite communities. Since the 2003 US invasion and later the persecution suffered under ISIL, the visit is a rare opportunity to lift broken spirits among a dwindling Christian population. But Iraqis of all faiths are excited about welcoming Pope Francis, Baba, as he is affectionately known in Arabic. Osama bin Javed, Al Jazeera, Baghdad.
Still in foreign news, Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta paid a visit to the Nairobi National Vaccine Depot on Thursday.
Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta paid a visit to the Nairobi National Vaccine Depot on Thursday, as the East African nation received its first shipment of just over 1 million AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines the day before. Several other African countries also received millions of coronavirus vaccines over the last week by way of the COVAX facility run by the WHO along with health NGOs, including Nigeria, Angola, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and the Democratic Republic of Congo.
We are standing here today barely
a few weeks after the most developed countries and beginning our own process of vaccination, whereas previously we would probably have had to wait for years and years while the rest of the world was moving ahead. But this time round, because of the proactive nature that we adopted, because of working together as an African continent, we are barely weeks behind the rest of the world. And I think this is the spirit that we in Africa must continue to adopt until we overcome this disease.
In a similar sentiment, the World Health Organization has cautioned against the monopolization of coronavirus vaccines by countries with freer financial means, warning that the global health crisis cannot end unless everyone can inoculate their populations.
Now, according to data from this study, only 4% of the 55 persons already infected with 501 YV2 could not overcome infection with the original strain of the coronavirus.
A preliminary study conducted in South Africa has shown that people infected with the variant of the coronavirus, known as the South African variant, have better immunity to other mutations of the virus. The study was carried out by the country's scientific team that discovered variant 501Y.V2. The study, which involved a very small number of people, has yet to be submitted for evaluation by the scientific community. But it does raise hope that a vaccine based on this variant could protect against future mutations of the coronavirus. According to data from the study, only 4% of the 55 persons already infected with 501Y.V2 could not overcome infection with the original strain of the coronavirus. The new variant was identified in South Africa at the end of last year. It fueled a second wave of infections in the country, with the most COVID-19 confirmed cases on the continent.
Now, protesters are back on the streets across Myanmar after 38 people were killed in the most violent day of military government's crackdown. A funeral has been held for one of the demonstrators who died on Wednesday. Ma Kiao-sin was killed during confrontations with security forces. Witnesses reported seeing soldiers firing into crowds with little warning. Meanwhile, a former United Nations official told Al Jazeera that the tactics adopted by Myanmar security forces are terrorist-like. Al Jazeera's court headline now reports.
Like thousands of others, Jasin, nicknamed Angel, went out to protest on the streets of Mandalay on Wednesday. Less than 24 hours later, people gathered for her funeral. She had been shot in the head. According to the UN, Angel was one of 38 protesters who died at the hands of Myanmar's security forces, the most killed in a single day since the coup on February 1st. Aid agency Save the Children says 4 of the dead were children. In Yangon, bodies were identified and collected by family members. This neighborhood of the country's largest city saw the heaviest death toll on Wednesday. There are reports that security forces opened up with live ammunition on the unarmed protesters without warning. But the protesters continue to put pressure on the junta. On Thursday, again building barricades to block the security forces as they prepare for another day of protests. Yang Li is the former UN Special Rapporteur from Myanmar. She and 2 other experts have started a council to track the situation after the coup.
The behaviors, the actions of this so-called military are terrorist-like behaviors. They have snipers and on high-rise buildings or on tall buildings. They are aiming at and shooting at the civilian population. This is a question.
And she said that the international community needs to acknowledge the military's actions as being comparable to terrorism.
UN, they should really be ashamed of what they've done or not done. They haven't been adhering to the UN Charter to protect and to restore or to maintain or to secure peace and order. And the Security Council have really not done its job.
She went on to say that China and Russia's veto power in the UN Security Council is obstructing action that needs to be taken in Myanmar. So far, the council has voiced concern but has not condemned what's happened since the coup. But there will be a further test of that on Friday, as another Security Council meeting has been called to discuss the crackdown on protesters this week. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera.
Min Zaw Oo is the Executive Director of the Myanmar Institute for Peace and Security. He's joining us by Skype from Yangon. It's good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. When you and I were talking a few weeks ago about this situation, you were explaining the protesters' determination to keep pressure on the military junta. We're now a few weeks down the line. We've seen an increase in violence, we've seen deaths, and we've seen an increasing number of people getting injured as well. How are people feeling about this now?
People are very angry at the security forces, especially at the military and police. People witnessed a crackdown, and the use of force people felt very unproportionate to the unarmed peaceful protesters. On the other hand, the regime appeared to be quite determined to use force to crack it down. We saw the major troop movements on February 26 to major cities to reinforce the existing security forces. And the nationwide crackdown started on February 28. And we noticed, although the number of protests and the number of crowds became smaller, people remained defiant in major cities. And the military also continued the crackdowns. So it seems like the both sides are in a difficult situations and really sad for the country that it seems like we may see more bloodshed in coming days as well.
We saw pictures recently of one medical team being attacked by security forces because they've been helping demonstrators. The UN rights chief, Michelle Bachelet, has just been reporting at least 29 journalists have apparently been arrested in recent days. How concerned are you that support for the protest is going to start to thin out as people get more scared?
Yeah, right now, the arrests being taken place targeting the leaders and organizers of the protests. So usually what happened was the security forces rounded up the protester in the daytime, and they kept them overnight, and they investigate them, and usually they release some protesters who are not the organizers. But they continue to raid places where they thought the organizers may be hiding as well. So we also see that some of the journalists were also arrested. Some of them were released as well. So it's difficult to determine the extent because of the murky situations. But one thing what we can tell is the regime is quite determined to crack it down and targeting the organizers of the protests and also the leaders of the NLD who are taking part in the parallel government challenging the regime.
We've heard a lot about the international criticism of what's been going on in Myanmar, but at the moment a lot of it seems to be words, it just seems to be rhetoric. What would the protesters want to see from the international community in terms of actual action against the military junta in Myanmar?
They are like a widespread call for the United Nations to act on Myanmar. But at the same time, the protesters are quite impatient at the United Nations in capability to act decisively on Myanmar crisis as well. So there are also understanding among some of the opposition that this is a fight Myanmar people have to take on by their own rather than relying on the international communities.
Min Zaw Oo is Executive Director of the Myanmar Institute for Peace and Security. We appreciate you being with us on Al Jazeera. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it has been third time unlucky again for billionaire Elon Musk's attempts at the successful test flight of his latest rocket prototype, Starship rocket SN-10, exploded a day after applications opened for the first commercial flight to the moon. The rocket soared into the sky in high altitude test on Wednesday from Boca Chica in Texas, then flew itself back to Earth and maneuvered into its first successful upright landing. But about 8 minutes later, it blew itself to pieces, launching into the air and crashing back to the ground. Al Jazeera's Emily Sue reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, clearing through the smoke there, Starship SN-10 has made history.
It looked like a successful test flight for SpaceX's next generation rocket. That was until this.
Wow!
It's not clear what went wrong. The private American space firm launched the giant rocket a few minutes earlier. After a high-altitude test flight, the 10th Starship prototype, or SN-10, touched down in the U.S. state of Texas. The company called it a beautiful soft landing, with its billionaire founder Elon Musk praising the fact it landed in one piece. 2 previous prototypes crashed into the ground. But SpaceX remains confident that Starship will eventually replace its existing Falcon rockets and become the world's first reusable space vehicle.
Any type of engineering feat where you are not only developing new type of propulsion system but a new type of fuselage, there's so many testing boundaries that have to occur, and so it's not unsurprising that we have seen the hiccups play out in real time, but it is a good thing.
Having sent NASA astronauts into orbit last year, SpaceX also has ambitious plans for commercial flights.
The first civilian lunar mission, Dear Moon.
It's promised a lunar excursion for Japanese billionaire Yasaku Maezawa on a Starship in 2023. Maezawa began accepting applications for 8 others to join him, a day before the failed flight test on Thursday.
I want to reach out to a wider, more diverse audience to give more people across the world the opportunity to join this journey.
If SpaceX is successful, private spaceflight will be the world's first. And despite the latest failure, Musk says he's optimistic he'll be able to send passengers to the moon, Mars, and beyond. Emily Sue, Al Jazeera.
And now, finally, in our foreign news, in Uganda, youths that can prove themselves enterprising using their skills will now have access to financing of 10 million to add equipment into their businesses. The financing facility is provided by MasterCard, working with Motive, an entity that works with youth innovators.
Skilled youth with a social-leaning enterprise but lacking cash to purchase equipment might find a reprieve with a new financing line by MasterCard Foundation, working with Motive, an entity working with the youth.
What does this mean to you as an entrepreneur? Show yourself, and show us what you do and do well. And when I say make, it doesn't mean that if I'm a screenwriter, I don't come, or if I'm a DJ, I don't come. No, you show us your skill, and make your ask very clear. I'm a DJ, what program do you have for me? And then we will show you where in our community your program lies.
For the MasterCard Foundation and government, the big picture has to do with removing disabling to the youth innovation to allow them realize their potential.
We are hoping to address challenges around market, access to finance, knowledge and training, intellectual property. So that means how are we protecting these innovations, governance from a policy perspective. How do we create an ecosystem that really supports these young people and creates a conducive environment for them in terms of structures that can be set up across the country.
I'm happy that we have creative minds to engage the youth in innovative approaches to self-employment.
Evidently, youth entrepreneurs have to be first handheld to turn them into real generators of employment and income for the economy. What would happen if these efforts are multiplied 10 or even 20-fold? Rachel Nabisubi, NTV Business.
Well, that's all we could accommodate on our news bulletin this afternoon. Before we go, a recap of the headlines. Withdrawal of the Cybersecurity and Cybercrimes Bill from Parliament for further consultations. Human Rights Commission recommends that former Commissioner of Police Nelson Piri be jointly charged with the case of murder with the officer who shot Nsama in Joseph Kaunda. Another opposition alliance, to be known as Kwacha Alliance, has been formed. And in sports news, the Absa Bank PLC has allocated 3.8 million Kwacha to the 2021 Absa Cup tournament. On behalf of the entire production team, this has been Lwando Billy Cheleka. Thank you so much for your time. Bye for now.